There's my buried behind water bottles. It's a long story. Actually, I'm glad you made me think for a second. It's like, oh yeah, I should probably. Uh, no, it's just I was like, oh yeah, because like I don't have to work on it. Everybody at the Escapist is off now till after the weekend, as I understand it. But it's like I want to start talking about Battleborn, considering. So it's like, you know what? I should probably refresh myself both before we ever play, and also just because I want to get in what I can before they take away one of my favorite games. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna just mindlessly record footage in the background because, well, I tossed my old footage because, like, oh well, the game's just gonna always be there, right? Hayabusa, Ryo Hayabusa. And for those who are wondering, yes, I use Ryo Hayabusa as a swear word. It's a very easy thing to say. It sounds like at one point I said it and my mom looked at me weird. I'm like, it sounds like a swear, doesn't it? And she's like, okay, actually, yeah.
Greetings, people. I'm here for video games, joined by
The Unabridged Gamer.
He's going to do another read-in when we start the Terminator video, but I just wanted him to say hi, because right now, before we start playing Terminator, we're going to be wrapping up... I've been playing Batman. Playing Batman for that article I'm working on, and Unabridged told me to try out the Bruce Wayne initiation missions. So I'm about to do that, but first I just wanted to try learning how to play as him in the combat and takedown missions, but then I'm going to try doing his mini campaign challenge missions. Finally get around to doing that.
It's interesting because, as we both discussed, there's a dearth of, like, lots of stealth sections in Arkham Origins, and then Initiation is like, by the way, we made a version of Bruce Wayne who's perfect for stealth.
Yeah. It's kind of great. Like, I've been playing the stealth challenges with him, and it's no trouble getting those 3 stars at all in this thing. Like, he's great at this.
Oh yeah, it's like with Catwoman in Arkham City. It's like, this is the perfect character for people who just want to flow and kick ass.
Oh god, yeah. No, it's great. You can just go from one guy to the next perfectly. Although now I'm bogged down on the last challenge. Hey, Phoenix. Bogged down on the last challenge, which is a thing that always drove me crazy in Arkham City. The challenge where they would have you try and kick someone off of a ledge with a zip kick, with Robin's zipline kick. And I'm like, that is ridiculously difficult to do. Because there's so few ledges in the game that don't have a wall next to them, and it's not easy to get them to fly over the wall. Yeah. So it's not a major complaint, but it's like my only complaint so far in this. And honestly, he's even good at fighting. Like, he's even just good at straight fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I really enjoy the ninja training Bruce Wayne League of Assassins character. And I would like to see I would play a whole game about this guy. Like, if you wanted to do that as a flashback, like, try to imagine that. Like, a game about Bruce Wayne at 20 years old, learning to be Batman, and, like, fighting Chinese gangsters in Asia while training with Ra's al Ghul, well, not Ra's al Ghul, but Henri Ducard or whoever, to become Batman. I'd play that game.
Yeah, it could be a really good... It'd be like an origin story, like an Arkham Origins.
Very funny. But no, but he's not Batman yet, so he doesn't have all the gadgets, he doesn't have all the powers, and he's not perfect at fighting. And one of the things I really liked, because I was playing I've been playing Arkham Asylum, and what I love about this series is they don't, like, and this is why some people I think have referred to as Knight as being so bloated, is because they don't take away your powers after every... Like, when you start the new game, you still have all of your powers from the previous game. And that's so rare, right? They don't, like, strip away all your powers. They just, they're like, no, we're going to give you a bunch of new powers. And yeah, Batman has stopped using one or two things that he didn't find that valuable, but by and large, you've got all of the abilities you had last game, and we're going to give you a bunch of new ones. That's why they had to finally give him a tank, you know, just because he'd already done everything else he could do. I know. I'm one of Arkham Knight's only defenders. I get that. I think it's boss as hell, and I don't apologize for that. All right. So yeah, I'll stop this and we'll go play Terminator because oh boy,
I want to actually add something real quick. I do want to clear here is like, I don't actually like hate
Knight.
Yeah, I want to see the tank and all that because everybody's notoriously really hampers on the tank, and it's like, I get that it gets boring and repetitive after a while, but like, I mean, I've played games like Rogue Squadron and Star Fox, and in that respect, it actually is a pretty good tech demo for Rocksteady to make a vehicle combat game. The main thing is they just have to, you know, do more than just the few types that they did with it. It kind of reminds me of people's complaints with the first game's combat, because there are people who are like, well, yes, it's fun and all, but it's not Devil May Cry. It's like, well, for one, it's not trying to be, but also for another, they needed to try more things. That's just it. So, like, if they do end up doing a fourth Arkham game like they keep talking about, okay, then, or technically fifth. But yeah.
Fourth for them. I think it's fair to refer to it that way.
Yeah, fourth for them. It's like, okay, sure, but then expand upon this system. If you're going to keep this around, because you put all this time and effort into it, then make it be more meaningful and make its instances feel all that more memorable. Because that's really the only difference between it and several other games that have jammed in something else is a question of whether or not it adds something immediately engaging to the player. Because the first time the Batmobile shows up, it kicks ass. It's just that afterwards, there are times when you kind of wish there was a little bit more going on, a little bit more complexity to how to take down the tanks. Because, like, the precision shots, I love doing those with, like, the little minigun and everything, but it never felt like that was encouraged, that was just, like, a neat bonus that kind of accidentally happened, if that makes sense.
Apparently, Phoenix is trapped into using the new Steam. A lot of people don't like the new Steam library. They find it harder to find their games than they used to. And I already had 4,000 games on my account, so being able to find my games is not something I've ever been able to do. So I'm... oh no, I screwed up. So I'm not that morose about the new Steam setup the way some people are. But then again, if the thing about the tank is, I thought the tank controls were brilliant. I think it plays really well. And you're right, you could make a whole game out of that. But I can see where some people were annoyed that, well, fundamentally, there's only 3 kinds of enemies. And you're fighting the same 3 kinds of enemies the whole game. And one of those enemies only show up in the last 2 hours of the game. You know, so I get that. I get why some people were annoyed. Personally, I loved the tank sequences. I liked the Riddler racetrack sequences. I don't know why he built them within the game world, but I think they were badass.
Riddler really went off the rails there by the end. I'm going to assume that they're implying, no, really, he's just gone that mad.
Well, Batman has driven him mad over the years, I think is the message. I think that's the only real takeaway. He's been driven mad by Batman's insistence on foiling him over and over and over again. Okay, here we go. Terminator. So, the reason I've been, hoping you could cover this game before the end of the year is because, and you know what, I should save this until we actually start recording, because I'm going to be plugging your thing, and I want to do that because it's awesome. Oh crap. Okay, good. Whew. I thought it was going to try to load this in my VR headset, but apparently I did remember to unplug it. Sometimes I forget. That is a weird thing to forget. All right.
If you're going to play it on...
1 second, hold on.
Sorry. Still holding. I won't let go, Jack.
Being a dope. Sorry about that. Being a dope, I also forgot to unplug my USB connection for my VR headset, so it sent the audio for the game over to my VR headset. So many games are confused by VR headsets. They don't know what to do.
I still have Steam. Like, hey, we turned on VR for you. Yeah, Steam.
I don't have a headset.
I fiddled around with the Rift Cat trial for Android phones like almost over a year ago at this point. Like, Steam, I don't know who you're expecting to be using VR here.
Oh, man. All right, so I'll start recording. Hidden Object Guru here, back for more Terminator Resistance. This time I'm joined by...
The Unabridged Gamer.
That's weird. It wants me to start a new game.
That's not good.
Let's see what's happening here. Okay, hold on. Nobody move. I mean, I'm happy to start a new game. It's perfect, and if I have to play the whole game again, I will. I've got plenty of footage to do a review, so I'm not worried about this, but it is weird. I'm gonna go check on the save in the folder.
Yeah, that's... I really hope I did not jinx the game.
I still think it's perfect. I don't care. Okay. Save games. It's got all the autosaves here. Logs. Config. Windows crash report. Logs. Folder is empty. Okay, hold on. Okay.
Oh, of course. And in step with that timing, someone's knocking for me. Hold on 1 second.
Go, go, go. Okay. Alright. This is very weird. I have not seen anything like this before. Yes, hello. I'm sorry I don't recognize the text in that language, so I'm not going to be able to weigh in on whatever it is you're saying there. No judgment. Alright, let's try this again. Okay. Okay, we've got Terminator play. Come on. Don't do this to me, game. I mean, it's fine if you do this to me. It's your game. I would be a fool to complain. You've given me so much pleasure. It is, again, not going to be my game of the year. Nope, it doesn't want to recognize that I've already been playing the game, which is really strange. Huh. Well, I'm deeply concerned. So I'm going to try starting a new game and getting to a checkpoint and finding the save folders and using my old backed up save files.
I have returned. Did it stop breaking?
Well, no, like it doesn't recognize. So what I want to do is I want to go and right, start a new game, get to a checkpoint. Right, get to a checkpoint and then quit the game. See if I can find my old save file.
Come on, come on.
Everything's
Where are the
fine.
others?
Okay.
Where's the rest of the resistance?
Oh.
I don't know.
Been, nearly assaulted in the face by their deodorant.
No!
Reasonable.
No!
Oh. Terminator is such a dick.
They are programmed that way.
They are famously horrible.
Listen to me if you want to live. Get under that bus, now. Keep moving, quick.
God, I love the look of these things. Okay.
I'm through. This is Private Jacob.
I know who you are.
Aw. Alright, so new quest added, game
Evacuation
saved.
point on the other side of town. You need to
So
get
we've now saved our game. So now we can quit and see if their new saved game we can continue. Okay, so you can continue, obviously. Load game. Okay, there's an autosave 0, but there's no other autosaves. Yes, I do want to exit game. So now we're going to go to the folder where that autosave file exists, hopefully. And we're going to see if we can substitute that autosave for my autosave. I wanted to... Yeah. If the game was doing... I backed up my save files to see, just in case the game had multiple endings. Which I don't know. Yeah. But that may have destroyed it?
I remember people were having a similar issue with Vampire, where they would try to make multiple save files and there were mixed results.
Really?
Yeah, like there were people who like figured out ways to access the folder where your saves were so that you could try all the different things out, but I'm not sure how successful they were. All I know is that they are the top thing for Nexus mods for the game. The second top thing being, for some reason, removing his beard.
Some people don't like that beard. I don't know if I understand it myself, but some people are not fans of that beard.
I've seen far worse beards, so for me it's like, you know what? I can tolerate this. This is fine.
You can put up with his beard. You don't have an issue with it. Okay. Well, that's very magnanimous of you. Okay. What just happened? My computer is doing all kind of crazy. I don't know what happened to my save files, Horror King. They seem to have gone mad.
I'm serious. My aura isn't breaking the game, is it?
As usual, I'm going to blame you for this one. Unabridged.
As one should.
Yeah, I'm gonna just blame you for this one, and I think history is gonna look kindly on me for having done so.
I'm sure the internet already looks kindly upon you. They are delighted to hear that Elijah is being told you did something wrong.
He did something terrible. All right, hold on. Let's see if I can hard crash this. All right, so I hard crashed something that seemed to be using the files. So hopefully, all right, that's gone. Let's empty the recycle bin. Okay, so that's deleted all of the ones that Terminator had. So now we're going to load Terminator. This is such a ridiculously, such a silly way to do this, but it might be my only option. So, your thoughts on Terminator? Best movie or the best movie of the 1980s?
I honestly prefer the second one.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the 80s. So you could say then best movie of the 1980s, because Terminator 2 was 1991.
Was Clue in the 80s? Or was that
Clue was in the 80s. Yeah, Clue was in the 80s. Okay. You make a strong argument about Clue. You know what? So was RoboCop. So, I might my theories might be falling apart a little.
Is, however, extremely notable, and especially as we
I don't know how or why, but deleting everything in the save folder and then reloading the game brought back my save files.
Oh, I know what happened then.
What happened?
I know what happened.
What happened?
Steam Save Sync.
Oh, of course. By deleting everything, it went to the cloud to look for it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it probably broke it too in the first place. That's what happened with me with XCOM Enemy Unknown. It literally reached the point where I couldn't save my game because it was just that bonkers. I do not know what Steam Save Sync does, but sometimes, goodness me, do the clouds just they are thunderstorms. They are not happy little clouds.
Oh.
They are not clouds that are made from happy accidents.
All right.
They are the exact opposite.
All right, let's do this. Hidden Object Guru here, joined by...
The Unabridged Gamer, who's really hoping the save file works this time.
Oh, yeah, we just had a bunch of drama trying to get the game to run. We are back for more Terminator Resistance, which I'm calling top 10 games of the year, maybe top 5. Just a beautiful experience in every way, shape, or form. All right, so
I've got the codes.
my question to you
Then
is,
let's get right to it.
where have the subtitles gone? That's weird. I'm gonna make sure the subtitles turn back on. Windowed full screen, on, far, epic, blah, 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 blah. Frame rate unlimited. I think 60 will be fine by me. Thank you very much. So my question to you is, and this is going to be weird, because I've been mulling over, I'm writing the script for a video about this game, like a little video review. And I'm trying to figure out whether I can call it the best movie adaptation video game ever made. And the thing is that was keeping me from doing that is, well, what about Star Wars?
What about
Please
Star
insert
Wars?
Stolen security codes now.
Like,
Strike a key when
and my
ready.
question to you is,
And it's done. Like
and this is going to sound weird,
easy
right?
money.
That's it?
Oh,
With the
okay.
proper equipment,
Tell me if this is
it
crazy,
only
but
takes a moment.
doesn't it feel like
We can fight
Star Wars
Skynet without
has
all
gone
weapons.
so, like, the
I
extended
believe that goes
universe
for that
has gone
infiltrator
so
as well.
far beyond
The first prototype just came out
The
a couple
movies.
of days ago. Imagine what
that
happens
whenever I
if
think
they
of what the
become
best Star Wars
mass-produced.
video games are,
We need to hurry before that happens.
They're
they are
essentially
so
That
far
infiltrator has
removed
been
from the
after us for
plot
more than
of
just
the
a couple
film
of days.
What do you
that
mean?
they feel like their own thing.
It's been following me for months.
Do you
But
see what
that
I'm saying?
simply can't be.
I
That
understand, and
prototype has
I
been
agree.
out
It's
for
part
mere
of why I
days.
liked the old
It's the
Legends
same
timeline, because
model
they
that destroyed
tried new
Pacific
things.
Division.
But
Because
I'm
you could
connected
have
to
crazy stuff like,
Skynet's
oh yeah,
mainframe, and
yeah,
I
you
can
can
see
play
their
as the bad guy, and
plans.
we totally won't
I'm
retcon
telling
it
you
out
that
in the
what
last
you're
few
saying is
minutes.
not
You can
possible.
actually just be the most awful person
Unless-
and become the Emperor's perfect pilot. That was
Yes.
one of the stunning
God.
things. Or you could become a Jedi Knight and then
They
screw
will
up and
finish the
fall to the dark
TDE.
side. There was
Finish
all
what?
these possibilities that you never see in the
time
films because the films
displacement
had to play
equipment.
to a certain
For all
specific
intents
way.
and purposes, it's
Right.
a time machine.
A time machine?
Oh, good. He's finding out
Yes,
that he's
a
time machine.
You go in, you pick a date,
See,
you press a button, and just like that.
At the
you'll be
whole
watching
game,
your
you've been
younger
giving
self learning
hints,
to tie
getting
your
hints.
shoelaces.
Spoiler alert,
You know,
Elijah.
time travel.
You'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Skynet's
By
been
a
working on
mysterious
TV
stranger who's
for a
been
while
helping you with
now.
your life,
I've been
right?
monitoring its progress.
And,
but
like,
it's
you
still not
mentioned,
ready.
yeah.
Yeah, 2 videos
So
ago, I'm
how
like,
could they
okay,
send
it's you
anyone
from the
back if
future.
It's not ready.
They didn't, but they will.
And now he's learning about
Don't
time
you
machines.
see?
This is so great. So
In one
this is, and so
alternative
my point is,
future,
like, this is
Infinite
so
TDE
closely
has
connected
sent
to the
the
movie,
Terminator back
right?
to our times.
Oh yeah,
It's
there's
so-
so
That
much
has to
going
be the
on.
one you
Right,
saw.
but it's directly
You
connected to
couldn't
the
have seen
plot
it
of the movie
otherwise. It didn't
because this is
exist
where
yet.
this is a
That would
game
explain
about
why they
them
suddenly
finding out
started
about
to
the
learn at such a
existence
geometric
of
rate. This is
time
big.
machines
This
and
is
infiltrators,
real
like
big.
T-800s with human
So
flesh.
if it's done,
right?
then what the fuck can we do now?
So my question
We
to
can
you
still
is,
fight for this
like,
future.
isn't
Our
that so close that I still
could
call it a
stop Skynet
direct
before they
Terminator
finish building time
tie-in,
displacement equipment and
in a
send
way
any more
that
Terminators back.
um,
I'm
Shadows of the
forwarding
Empire
everything I've
isn't
learned
connected to
Connor,
any of the Star
who
Wars
needs to
movies.
know. And you go report back to Baron.
To be fair,
Speaking of
Shadows of the
Baron,
Empire was supposed to be connected. It was supposed to be like that. It's just that the game
what happened between you and
is in a
Baron?
weird situation.
ago,
I do want to clarify that
Connor
because, like,
gave an order
did you ever
to
play the
infect
N64
Skynet
version or
with
just
a
the PC
virus.
version?
Just
To
the
do it,
PC.
we had to
Wait,
reboot a
just the
T800
N64
model
version.
I was trying to reprogram.
Hey, you got a completely
I
different
warned them
presentation
that
of
I
the plot
wasn't
than certain other
done
people.
and
Because, like,
that
the
the Terminator
N64
was
version,
fully
they put a
functional,
lot of the
but
book
they didn't
in.
listen.
Whereas for some reason with the
So-
PC version, they did like maybe half of the story at most in weird CGI cutscenes.
Oh,
It's like they overestimated just how much they could potentially do with it.
As
And as a result,
it went
you have
online and sent our
you
coordinates
got some
to
problems. You got some problems there where you end up with lots of story missing. So it's like for that one, it's like it should have been like this dramatic connection, but I mean, Star Wars is even when they've gone directly connecting into it, it's gotten super weird. Like there's the Phantom Menace game where whole additional events that never happened in the movie happen. Multiple expanded universe elements get introduced just basically because. And on top of all of that, it has moral choices. Like in the Phantom Menace, fun fact, you can legitimately slaughter a whole ton of Aragunga.
okay.
Like, and the developers clearly realized too many people wanted to do this because there's this whole thing where Qui-Gon's like, Obi-Wan, I can sense you don't think highly of these creatures. And it's like, you're right there. You definitely got that.
Maybe step in.
But, sadly, they are not able to sway a lot of players, from what I understand. But like, there's even like Dishonored style quests. I mean, understand the level of writing there for branching narrative. There's a quest to reunite a mother and son, very much like Anakin and his mom, except either the kid or the mom can die by your hand or someone else's, and if you mess up and the kid's dead, the writing actually acknowledges this.
Wow.
There's voice lines there that's like, even when they make a direct adaptation of a Star Wars movie, even when they had access more than anyone else did, it got so weird.
That's so crazy.
And I love it, but still, it's like, it's so weird.
Man. So, okay, but if we were to... So, let's say we take that out of the equation. We're not talking about Star Wars. What is... Oh, happy Thanksgiving, Stratchick. I just saw that in the chat. So let's say we take that out of the equation. Let's not worry about the, frankly, giant amount of truly amazing Star Wars games, right? And set that aside. And I mean, if you can think of something else, tell me. But right now, all I can say is, I'm loving Terminator Resistance so much that I'm ready to say that it's like, what is better, this or Alien Isolation? For all-time great movie tie-in games. That is how good I think that this game is, and so I'm saying, do you have anything else that belongs on that list?
Okay, yes. If we're going for a list, because, like, you ask me, I'm terrible when someone asks me for, like, choose the definitive one.
No, obviously not definitive. I'm saying let's see what you think belongs on the list, and see if there's anything that makes me think, well, maybe I'm being too impressed with this thing.
I'm going to start off the obvious one, and sadly one of the hardest ones to get, which is Alien Resurrection by Argonaut. Because, I mean...
That's a good game.
Alien Resurrection by Argonaut has better atmosphere, better lighting, better combat. It even has dismemberment years of... A whole extra console generation before Dead Space. All of these incredible things. The only thing it really doesn't do a great job of is explaining that it's set after the events of the original movie. That's the only thing that they really... At least I think that's what's happening. Like I said, they do a really terrible job with the storytelling. It's the one element that just leaves you going, so literally this was the last thing you were working on. The very last thing. You were designing this entire game. But everything else is just so good. It's amazing, and it's so pristinely primed. Like, there's actually an issue with because, like, you know, like with, say, Silent Hill 2, it's always had issues with all of its different ports and everything. The same thing happens with Resurrection. It is so specifically getting every ounce out of the PlayStation 1 that emulators and the PlayStation 3 actually have issues sometimes with loading certain things. There's apparently a door that certain playthroughs just won't open because the assets are just being strained too much if you do not have original hardware.
Whoa.
Which is just, that is how much Argonaut put in. Because, I mean, they're the people who made Star Fox and the SNES. You know that they know what they're doing, but, like, that is on a whole other level of, wow, you really thought about this.
Damn.
Plus,
that is impressive.
And I want to say here, it's one of the few reasons to own a PlayStation 1 mouse, because it has full mouse support, in which case it feels like a proper PC port. It was supposed to actually have a PC and I believe a Sega Saturn port, but
it's weird that they never did that. Like, it really is weird that they never did that.
I think it comes down to the fact that the game was already, like, 3 years behind when it was supposed to release.
Well, but the thing that bothers me is it's like, it was a mouse-look shooter, right? It was it was a mouse-look shooter for the PS1, but there's no mouse in it. And it's like, well, maybe put it on a platform where there's a mouse then. You know? Get a little more out of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Open it up to new audiences. And it seems like that would have been a really good choice, and I don't know why they would have botched that so badly.
At this point, I think it's just down to licensing more than anything else. It's another one of the unfortunate Fox games where it's like Nolf in that, yes, technically someone owns the rights, but no one wants to actually figure out who.
No one is going to spend the $100,000 in lawyers it would take to figure out who owns the rights to this stuff. Because that's not that much of an exaggeration.
Oh, you know, that's pretty close to what I would expect, and it's a shame, too, because it really is, I think, one of my... what got me interested in finally giving more licensed tie-in games a shot was playing that one, because like, this should be far more terrible than it is. This like, everyone on the internet will insist to me that, oh, every licensed tie-in game must be garbage, and it's like, this is working fine. This is working great, actually.
Yeah. See, that's impressive to me. Like, I love the idea of someone actually figuring that out and doing just a great job of it. And it so rarely happens. Like, it really does happen incredibly rarely. Right? That someone manages to figure that out completely. Like, to make a really great game in a place that, and I mean, maybe this is overselling the idea, but doesn't really deserve it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, there's tons of games, but the thing is, and I do want to add this here, for those wondering, when it comes to licensed tie-ins, they are actually both hell and heaven for game developers, because while yes, you're working under insane crunch, you're expecting to get smashed to hell in terms of public reception.
Of course.
The thing is, you can try a lot of things that, from what I understand, you don't ever get to try otherwise. Like, I know one developer, the guy behind Robo Puzzle Smash, the guy behind that, he actually worked on the Berenstein Bears game for GBA. And
seriously?
like, that was one of his favorite things to work on, apparently. We did an interview, it's on the channel, and it's like,
I've got to see this thing.
He just was so happy to actually work on it, because he got to try all sorts of things, because no one really cares. It's very clear with a lot I mean, everybody's always like, how do people approve these licensed tie-in games? And the answer is, because most license holders just do not care. Like,
because they are a book company. They are a company that makes children's books. If the game sells 10,000 copies, that's literally all they care about.
That is it. And you see that with so many other games, and it's like, that is as much a benefit as it might seem a hindrance, because yes, that means, unfortunately, you sometimes get games where they really deserved more time. See the first Amazing Spider-Man game, or pretty much anything Beanox got to do for Activision. But regardless, it can result in some very creative experiences. And in fact, sometimes the way a license plays out can have its own unique effects. Like, speaking of Amazing Spider-Man, if you don't mind me going on a detour here.
Please go on a detour.
Another one that I would absolutely recommend and put on the list without a single doubt, and everyone is always like, really, with me with this one, is Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, we're talking about Star Wars getting to go off on the deep end. Amazing Spider-Man, Beanox basically got to just do whatever the hell they wanted for the grand finale. Like, apparently, I don't know if it was because the plot kept changing, because I firmly believe it is. I truly, because of everything that we've heard about how Amazing Spider-Man 2 kept pivoting and changing because of Raimi, what's his name, and not Raimi as in Sam Raimi, but the other guy, and Amy Pascal, like, there's some stunning videos about it, and the thing is, it changed and pivoted so many times that I wouldn't be surprised if Kingpin was at one point going to appear in the movie, but then ended up in the game, because, like, whereas films can move really fast, games don't. Games,
yeah, no, you have to commit very early to what the game should be.
So all this talk about how it's an original plot and everything, I firmly believe that it might actually be based on just like earlier ideas for the script that then got dropped, because not only would that make more sense, it would explain why they commit so hard to some of the characters, some of the villains and everything from the movie, but otherwise it goes completely on its own route, and it ends up being a story about Spider-Man dealing with mourning and loss and everything, and Carnage is the final boss, and not like Carnage with Venom. No, Venom's off because they were still playing on that as its own movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is a really surreal experience playing the game, because like, it is effectively an original game, but it's also a sequel to The Amazing Spider-Man 1, which was an epilogue to The Amazing Spider-Man 1, the movie. It is both a sequel to so many things and yet nothing. And in the meantime, it is essentially Spider-Man PS4. Like, I'm not even kidding here. It's the point that I really think that a reason a lot of people were excited about Spider-Man PS4, and the same reason I wasn't excited, is for just how much of Amazing Spider-Man 2 is in Spider-Man PS4. It is almost shocking. Like, we're talking the placement of QTE events. And I'm not trying to accuse Insomniac of stealing or anything. My gosh, I'm glad that they used that, but it's like not nearly as shocking or exciting when it's this already happened and you people were giving it a 4 out of 10.
Wow.
I'm kind of, this is one of those I don't know what the games industry was thinking sort of situations, because it is just really good. The side activities and the crimes you interact with are dynamic, and to be quite frankly honest, they're more interesting than some of the ones that Insomniac provides. You've got encounters where you can choose to be completely stealthy, whereas Spider-Man PS4 seems to be really averse to stealth in general, but you can totally be very stealthy in Amazing Spider-Man 2 in all sorts of fun ways. You go into these Russian hideouts and you have to be undetected to claim a special suit of armor. And so much is the stealth valued that it's possible to actually slip past enemies. You can sometimes ghost past a few of them. You just need to get the few that are in your way out of your way, and I can't think of another Spider-Man game that does that.
Well, I mean, other than, the Spider-Man Noir.
Other than Spider-Man Noir, which I
Parts
fully
of the Spider-Man parts of the Spider-Man Noir parts of Shattered Dimensions, and what was the first one called?
Shattered Dimensions was the first
Oh,
one.
first one. What was the second one called?
That was Edge of Time, and
Edge
it was
of Time.
fucking terrible.
Well, no, I know. I'm just trying to remember. For some reason, I thought Shattered Dimensions didn't sound like a first game kind of name.
Oh, I know. I still kind of love, though, that just like with Shattered Dimensions, Into the Spider-Verse is also like, yes, we're just going to throw all the characters in now.
Yeah, we have so many. Let's just put them all out there.
Really, everything about Amazing Spider-Man 2, I really love. I especially love that, in hindsight, that Stan Lee really got to be a character. Like, they didn't just get him in to say, oh, yeah, I really liked you two kids together. Instead, it's like, no, they have him touch upon what he wants Spider-Man to be and what inspired all that. It's like, this is like actually Stan Lee having a deep, meaningful conversation with his audience right now. But I mean,
he's contributing to the story of Spider-Man here in a really impressive way.
Makes me just care so much more about what's going on. So, like, I'm not going to say that Amazing Spider-Man 2 is flawless, but even the boss design is just really good because you've played bosses where it's not really using the weaknesses of your enemies against you. It's about waiting for animations to time out. Amazing Spider-Man 2 doesn't really do that. Like, it doesn't break ground in 1,000 ways into how it does handle certain things, but it still does come up with unique scenarios. Like, when you face Carnage, you can use sonic blasts and fire to damage him, just like you would the symbiote in the comics. That can substantially weaken his health, not just like do a token amount of damage, but be a real meaningful
but actually cripple him. Yeah, that's fantastic. No, they so rarely commit to that kind of accuracy with the characters.
Like, that's why I say that one's there, because I think it might actually be like the truest Spider-Man simulator. And I'm an idiot. I forgot the most important part.
Yeah.
So we know Peter Parker's life sucks. Literally, it's called the Parker Luck. The thing is, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is also the only game to gamify that.
Really?
Because, once again, to use the Spider-Man PS4 comparison, you have Silver Sable in Spider-Man PS4. They harass you constantly. Here's the thing, though. You take them out, and they're gone. In Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's a threat or menace meter, which sounds like it's just going to be a token, infamous-style morality system, but the thing is, it's not. Instead, it's a very mechanical metaphor for what Kingpin is doing by constantly distracting you. Every time that you are busy trying to keep everything from going crazy out there, you're not pursuing story missions. Kingpin can freely do what he wants. Whereas, when you are actually confronting him and stopping him, the meter builds up because you're not stopping crimes. And every crime you don't stop lowers your rating in the public eye, makes you be viewed more as a menace, less as valuable. What have you been doing for us? You know personally that you have been fighting a war against crime, but New York doesn't know, and New York doesn't care. It's New York. So as a result, you're constantly pulled, because if you do not keep your meter high, you will have stats go down a bit, you will have enemy patrols start to more thoroughly fill the city, and eventually, if you get to level 3, there are even unique web-swinging hindrances. You suddenly have new obstacles like energy gates. And
Wait, so
according
people
to-
would have set them up around the city to stop Spider-Man?
Yes, the Kingpin's anti-crime task force will seriously start setting traps for you and everything. They'll send drones to hunt you down that will pursue you, and like each one of them is mechanically fun to deal with, but also it reveals just how bad things are getting. It's
That's fantastic.
amazing. Nobody
Oh, wait,
ever gets
we got a question for you. Do you have any thoughts on Little Nightmares?
I have not gotten the chance to play it. I have a copy staring at me right beside my copy of Dishonored Death of the Outsider that's also very angry with me.
I personally love Little Nightmares, but I've talked about it endlessly on the channel. But yes, no, I just thought it seemed like more people need to play this game. Like, definitely more people need to play Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it's only available on 360 and PS3, right?
Oh, that's the thing. It's available on. That's the
It was
stunning
on
thing
next
about-
generation consoles? Sorry,
Yeah,
current generation
it
consoles?
it was famous for getting a bit of a controversy actually, because at one point it looked like it wasn't going to be on Xbox One, and then it was like, no, it is, and then it was like it was going to be digital only, and then it wasn't. It was a weird thing, but yeah, it's on PS3, 360, Wii U, and the thing is, I want to emphasize just how much I like Amazing Spider-Man. I got it on the 360 because that was the cheapest platform at the time, but
Yeah.
if you are curious to take me up on this, GameStop is currently having a Black Friday deal where it's buy one get one free for 360, PS3, and Wii U.
Wow.
I intentionally have got it again on Wii U because Amazing Spider-Man 1 on Wii U is one of the best ports. Like, it actually moves every single HUD element down to the gamepad. You are just being
I love it when they do that.
It is a glorious feeling. Like, I am not kidding here when I say I will play it again happily on there. Not just because it is a great game, but because that is the best way to play a Spider-Man game. You're just freely swinging through the air. And I know some people weren't happy about the first one simplifying swinging. Well, guess what? The second one has much deeper swinging, in my own humble opinion, deeper swinging, once again, than Spider-Man PS4!
Wow.
Like, in terms of storytelling and presentation, Insomniac has them beat. And there's a few things that they introduced to the combat, like the anti-grab grenade, that are unique. But, like, even some of the abilities in Spider-Man PS4 were already, and they had more narrative reason to exist. Like, you know how Shocker exists and is always a joke? Well, they have a really clever idea for that in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not only do they also use him as a first boss, but you steal his gauntlets. You actually take them as upgrades, and then you just permanently have Sonic Shocks as an ability.
Like in Batman Arkham Origins.
Exactly. You just suddenly have this ability to just whip them out, and it becomes a really useful skill, especially when taking down, like, petty crimes, because you can knock everyone over and just web them up. You don't have to do any sort of brawling. You feel like Spider-Man. You're being clever, you're using your gadgets, and you're getting over with as quickly as possible, because you have got no time in the world, Peter Parker. It's just, there's so much awesome there, and since I know that it is available amongst the various titles, seriously, if you like anything that I'm describing here and you have a platform that can play it, check it out, please, because, like, it's the last game Beanox ever got to do that wasn't support duty.
Nice. Well, I think it's clear what his favorite Spider-Man game is. My favorite Spider-Man game is still Spider-Man 2 on the PS1, because, you know, Spider-Man 2 on the PS1. Although, I gotta say, I was actually really fond of that one where symbiotes were attacking. What's the one where symbiotes were attacking
Web
New York?
of Shadows. Yeah, that one was so...
I actually really like Web of Shadows.
Yeah, I wish Treyarch had gotten the chance to refine some of the elements there
Do
more.
you mean
like,
finish the game?
yes.
I think you mean finish the game.
Because, like, if they could have, and above all else, could they get a better voice actor? Because that's the one thing I will warn you of also about Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that, good gravy, does the voice actor really not impress, unfortunately. It's like...
Yeah.
Was Josh Keaton not available? Couldn't you get him in for like a few days? He is genuinely the best Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You could have gotten him. It's not like they're doing a new season of Spectacular Spider-Man and he was busy.
Oh. So, let's look at other, like, what are other movie tie-ins?
Sorry.
It's fine. Everyone enjoys 18 minutes of talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2. No one's objecting to that, but you never actually answered the question I asked.
Yes.
Let's keep moving.
Ask me the question again.
No, I need you to list off anything that is a movie tie-in.
Yes.
And you came up with Alien Resurrection. Is there anything else worth thinking about?
The problem for me is I keep thinking of ones like that were actually meant to set up a movie that never happened. Like, believe it or not, the Death Junior games were originally supposed to be an animated film that Sony was going to make happen, but then only the games existed.
So, like, the movie Vin Diesel is in.
Yes, exactly. It's just sort of like that. Or,
Or Spy Hunter featuring The Rock.
Exactly. It's just there's all these weird ones, and this was definitely one of them where, wow, yeah, this did not go as planned.
So Death Jr. was supposed to be an animated film. Huh.
Yeah,
I've never heard that. Weird.
And the brilliant thing is, and I will wrap up this tangent quickly, is I love that the guy who did the art, it ended up jump-starting his career. He now does independent comics. He did essentially this one series called Courtney Crumrin that I would describe as, what if C.S. Lewis, but incredibly gothic and also a little bit Lovecraftian? Like, someone gets dragged to hell in this all-ages movie. The token fat kid best friend gets eaten in the first issue of this all-ages comic.
Wow.
And it still tonally works. It is some impressive work, and I'm glad that he kicked off his internet, because he did the art for the game, or the concept art, and he did the art for the comics that tied into it. So as a result, he essentially got a jump start by Sony.
That sounds pretty Super Adorbs. Like, that sounds like a Super Adorbs concept, and I'm glad to hear that, like, even though his movie didn't get made, he managed to, like, get this huge career boost out of it. That's fantastic, and that kind of thing rarely happens.
Yeah, it is extremely surreal, and that's why I felt I needed to say something. It's like, you just don't ever hear about anything like that. It's always something dour or depressing. It's like, no, for once, it actually worked out. But,
yeah, I mean, in the same way that Scud the Disposable Assassin never actually happened as a movie, but it turned into a wonderful career for those guys as writers and directors.
Now, I'm trying to think, what else would I really name as a big, notable tie-in?
Because it's like there's so few tie-in games that make a splash that either, like, do a great job of being a video game or do a great job of representing the movie.
Well, there's actually one that you, in part, helped introduce me to, for what it's worth. Captain America Super Soldier.
Yes, Captain America Super Soldier and the other one, Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, are both fantastic movies. What the hey?
How did you know we were coming?
It's me? Yeah, they're still doing the tease where they haven't revealed that it's me from the future yet. But it's nice that he's there. They're still keeping that tease going. Yeah, both of those are amazing amazing games, and it's the weird situation where X-Men Wolverine, which you still haven't been able to find, right?
I have a copy.
Oh, you have
it?
a copy.
Having time. It is angrily looking at me right next to Peter Jackson's King Kong, which Nelson wants me to play.
Oh, it's incredible.
And goodness me, I will not be forgiven if I do not mention that yes, the King Kong one, from everything I've seen, also looks like it definitely would be one worth keeping on the list. I just haven't personally gotten the chance to play it yet.
I mean, I personally love that game. And that is a thing, I'll say that's how good Terminator is. That, yes, I would say from a... how do I put this? From a cinematic standpoint, if you were trying to say, what is the absolute best game to recreate the world and feel of a film? Like, to actually take the film and put it in video game form? Probably it's Peter Jackson's King Kong. Because that is the movie, but better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, the direct interaction of everyone is a big deal. Plus, believe it or not, there is one tie-in game that no one realizes is a tie-in game.
What's that?
And it has existed for so long that it recently got a revival via VR.
Okay.
The game of which I am talking about, of course, is Medal of Honor.
Oh, that was based on a movie?
What's it supposed to be?
That was Spielberg Saving Private Ryan. He was
Right, Steve. It was his. Yes, he also produced a video game to go with. I mean, it's not a direct tie-in. It's not Saving Private Ryan the game, but you are right that it was. He was doing that World War II project, and that was the video game. While Saving Private Ryan was the movie, that was the video game. I totally forgot about that, but you're right. It's not a tie-in in the exact same way as much as it is two halves of a project that he was working on. But you're not wrong to describe it as belonging adjacent to that list. That being said, I would say, what the hell was that? I would say Medal of Honor is nowhere as near as good a video game as Terminator. Resistance is. But you're right. For a PS1 first-person shooter, it's amazing. Like, it is. Yay! Take that, HK Ariel. Whoa!
And as a GBA game, the less said, the better.
But it's a pretty solid game, right? That first one, that first Medal of Honor. I never played Medal of Honor Underground, but that first Medal of Honor, like when the only great console first-person shooter was GoldenEye, it made a really good case for itself. Like, I would agree with that completely, and I would say, yeah, that's a special one that people should check out.
Sorry.
Go.
I was thinking about all the different options. I'm like, well, there is also, to speak of first-person shooters that definitely had some fantastic tie-in quality. I know not everyone agrees with me on this, but I really, really feel like 007 Legends was...
That's a really good game. No, it is. There's some parts in it that I hated, but overall I thought it was a really good game.
And it actually made me more curious to experience more Bond. Like, understand, before experiencing it, I'd seen the newer ones, and I'd seen like one or two of the older ones, and apparently most of the older ones that I saw, by complete chance, were some of the worst ones. Like...
Octopussy?
I don't believe that one, although odds are probably good. I know for certain that I've had many people tell me, oh gosh, you saw The Man with the Golden Gun? Because, like, Christopher Lee was, like, the only part of that movie that I could really get behind.
Man with Golden Gun is, he's a ton of fun in that.
But yeah, he is like the big saving grace. He is having a blast when it seems like some other people are just kind of scratching their heads. Yeah. Also, the plane car, the airplane car was priceless.
Yes. How could you not love the airplane car? No, that's pretty badass. But yes, so you didn't have a love of classic James Bond, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have this like this emotional association where it's like, oh yeah, classic James Bond is the best. Mm-hmm. You didn't have that going into 007 Legends, so you had the ability to, for the first time ever, just kind of like, okay, I'm enjoying this just for the sake of enjoying it.
Oh yeah, in particular the Revenge one set in Mexico. That one, I'm thinking that was that License to Kill.
That is License to Kill. Yes.
That one immediately was like, I don't love that a woman gets fridged at the beginning, but besides that, oh my gosh, that villain has such a presence. Like, even when he's being redubbed and he's CGI on my computer screen, it's like, he is immediately catching my attention, where Blofeld is like...
Robert Davi's the best. Yeah.
It's amazing how even this long afterwards, like they managed to find a way to make evil Fonzie be amazingly intimidating.
Oh god, I loved Robert Davi in that. I love him in the movie. I really like that he came back for the video game. They got a decent amount of people to come back from the for the video game. I was actually quite excited about that because I'm pretty sure the same maybe I'm wrong here. Doesn't Hugo Drax come back for?
Oh, Drax! Drax, I actually know because I saw some of the clips online just because of curiosity, and it's like, yeah, that is him. They make him look a little bit more, for some reason, like Peter Dinklage in the game. That's about the only difference.
But yeah, that's the actual actor because it's not just his face. He's actually doing the voice, right?
Yeah. I think. Yeah. I want to more to see if everybody else, because like it's like, okay, this sounds even more awesome than, because I was like, if this is, you know, the stunt double equivalent of the voice, I want to know what the main one sounds like.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Oh, hey,
no.
apparently the voice, I did not see your comments, Horking. Apparently the voice of Spider-Man in the 90s cartoon was the voice of Spider-Man 2099 in Edge of Time. I didn't know
Yes, and he was also Noir in Shattered Dimensions. That's the fun thing about Shattered Dimensions, is that essentially every voice actor was at one point Spider-Man. Even Neil Patrick Harris, that wasn't a stunt casting. He was, very briefly, one of the worst Spider-Man.
that. Yep, I remember that. Bad cartoon.
Yeah, that
It was not
a-
impressive.
It was
What
a-
game was I supposed to check out, Noor? Continue.
I do want to say it was really nice to see him come back, but also you can definitely tell that he was in there quickly, because apparently the DS version of Shattered Dimensions just straight up doesn't have him, and a lot of his actual like grunts and all of that in the combat, yeah, that's actually Josh Keaton's voice lines being used from Ultimate all over again. So like,
Oh, wow.
so he's, I genuinely think he might have had the briefest amount of touch with any of the vocal lines for the game by comparison to the rest of the cast, which, once again, not bashing or anything, it's like, it is kind of surreal to think of just how quickly he was in and out of that project, even though his voice dominates the majority of the cutscenes.
Oh, yes, I did look up Roblox, Noor Gamer. Yes, it's not something I'll be playing because, you know, it's not a game with a beginning, a middle, and end. But it did look badass. And now, the reveal.
Baron.
Dun dun
Oh.
dun dun dun.
He didn't do the reveal?
Still?
Of finding out it was him from the future? Damn it, dude. Come on. You from the future just got killed saving you from the past life, and you didn't find out?
Maybe he's just too beside himself?
Oh, God, that... You've just made everyone sad. So bravo! It's a rare person who can succeed in making everyone sad at once. Jesus. Oh my God. Consequences. We've got a new mission. Everyone has been killed at the resistance shelter. And, that was going to happen irregardless. But, you know, it's worse because of what happened here. Oh, the resistance shelter's been overrun. Oh no! They killed a puppy dog! You bastards. I so despise-elate you.
Really, Teon knows what they're doing if they're going to make the Terminators kill a puppy, because that will set off the internet. Like, human beings,
Yeah,
nah.
no, murder all the human beings you want, but you can't kill... Oh, God, the quartermaster is dead. I mean, kind of assume. Okay, so, okay. Oh, no. Damn it. Okay, in a nice touch, because the game's ending, I can now go into the quartermaster's hutch and just take all of his stuff, because, you know, there you go. Yes, E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the 2600, which is not a great game, but it's not as bad as its reputation suggests. I've played much worse games than E.T. the Extraterrestrial. It's just, the falling into holes got so frustrating so quickly.
And they just didn't have time to explain anything. Like, I remember hearing about the guy. The nice thing is, the guy who programmed it, he isn't actually ashamed to have worked on it. He's honestly a little bit proud to have become that big a piece of history.
Yeah.
Because, like, he just was assigned a really crappy gig, and he was like, okay, I'm going to try to do the best I can.
And I love that the story is, it's like, Steven Spielberg saw your Indiana Jones game, and he really liked it, so he wants to make an E.T. game. Great, how long do I have? 3 weeks! You know that's not even enough time to draw up a design document for a game, right? Let alone make a whole game. And they're like, we don't care, it has to be in stores for Christmas! Yeah, it was... Okay, I know it wasn't 3 weeks, that's an exaggeration, but the time they gave him was ludicrous.
It was actually a substantially low amount of weeks. We're really not being hyperbolic here when saying it probably felt like 3 weeks for him.
Yeah, like it was an obscenely short amount of time.
Development cycle of The Force Unleashed and Untitled Republic 2 look graceful by comparison.
Oh, no, nor I didn't actually start up Roblox. I just saw that it was a list of people's what do you call it? I saw it was a list of, mini games that other people had made, and I'm like, neat, but I would have to really do a lot of research to find one that looked playable. I'm like, I have so much to play right now, I can't do that kind of research. If there's a specific game you think I should try, I may check that out, but I'm not gonna. I hate to say it, indie people, but I need you to come to me with your games. I'm not gonna search your games out. I don't have the time to do that.
I do want to also say, as someone who formerly played Roblox, while it can be neat, it is kind of one of those games that you more play because it's cheap. Like, really, that should be understood as, like, I can guarantee you, when I was a kid playing that game, it was like, okay, I can experience all of these things for free, and I can...
Horror King is agreeing with me that Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation 1 is the best Spider-Man game, so there you go. Yay! Happy Thanksgiving, Nor.
Oh, and yes, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I keep trying to say that, sorry.
Damn.
I'm trying to think.
No!
What other good ones really worth mentioning? I feel like there's something else more. Oh yeah, Thor on DS.
Oh yeah, Thor on DS. You told me about that. I've never played it.
Yeah, there's apparently, like, Way Forward just basically got handed a bunch of Marvel DS games. So, like, they did a completely different version of Shattered Dimensions and Edge of Time that is apparently a Metroidvania. 5D or 2D, depending on which one it is, Metroidvania. And, it's fully voiced and everything, so it's treated like a proper full Way Forward game. It just happens to be exclusive to DS. So, like, also... definitely worth keeping in mind. Trying to think, but Thor was such a drastic difference. And supposedly there's also a different version on 3DS that I want to look into that is like, it is a 3D brawler, just like the main console version, but everything I've seen of gameplay footage looks 1,000 times better.
Wow.
Which is just surreal. I want to experience that at some point because... I don't know how that happens, but alright, you have my attention! I'm trying to think, but yeah, just in general, the Way Forward is really hard to mess up. The only Way Forward tie-in game that I think I've played that didn't actually click for me was the Batman Brave and the Bold one, and that was because it was made so much for kids that, like,
Yeah, it is very simplistic. There's not a ton of depth to it. Way Forward has done so many great Metroidvanias. To see them just do, this very simplistic brawler, I'm not going to say it's beneath them, but it's, like, just not what you go to Way Forward for.
Yeah, it really isn't, and it's a shame, too, because, like, it's Way Forward. They're really good at this.
They're incredible. Like, look at that Mummy game. I know it wasn't the biggest hit, but, like, by far, the best thing to come out of that Mummy movie was that Mummy video game, right?
Which warrants mentioning it, too. It probably could go on the list, because that is also a surreal thing. Can we agree that there's occasionally where you have a genuinely good tie-in game, and it completely elevates what's going on with the movie?
Well, I think I may put together a video, and the point of the video is going to be video game tie-ins that were better than the movie. And it's not going to be a long list, but that's going to be the big, like, the big takeaway award-winning one is definitely the Mummy, the Mummy Demastered is going to be, like, the big #1 winner, because it is so much better than the movie it's based on. Right? And I'm trying to... Well, we'll talk about other entries for that list soon. But right now, because I'm trying to think, like, what is a... Oh my god, I now have the Terminator minigun. You know, the machine gun that the Terminator brings to attack the base in Kyle Reese's flashback from Terminator. And it is brutal. It is just wasting everything. So, if you hadn't convinced all of your friends to leave, their dead bodies would be here in the place when you got back. So that is not ideal. That's why it's so important to get them all to flee. Careful.
Flee with your lives.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Spider-Man 2 lets you make your own Whoa! I love you flamethrower Terminators. Flamethrowers are such an inefficient weapon.
And yet they keep pushing them as a thing. Even in Star Wars recently, it's like, no, really, every generation of Star Wars had flame troopers. Okay, why?
Why
Great
though?
question.
You know that in Star Wars style combat, people almost never get within like 20 meters of each other, right? That's just not a thing that happens. They are shooting each other from quite far away. There's not a lot of trench warfare in Star Wars. Well, not a huge amount. There has been trench wars, but you know, it's not a big part of the combat. It's like, no, there's death troopers. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. The T-850's back. Oh, I hate this guy. He's got his own minigun. So yeah, like there's the Mummy game. There's that, like, I'm just trying to think of like really, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm overselling this game, but this is just a legitimately great first-person shooter. And my question to you is like, does the fact that the tech isn't up there and the visuals aren't up there with, say for example, what's a great trying to think like what's the best? Okay, a Wolfenstein game, right? Like, if I start to criticize its visuals, aren't I just criticizing a game for not having a big budget? Because in my experience, a game's visuals are 100%, or at least 99%, a factor of its budget.
It really does just simply come down to budget and time for animations, for everything. And that actually even came up when I was in the chat for one of the streams, because I think it was Horror King who was commenting on the faces, and it's like, that's because...
Oh, Alvin got killed.
Animating a face, just, that is...
It's a huge amount of work.
I mean, the main reason that Naughty Dog was originally celebrated for Uncharted 1 was because they figured out how to dynamically animate Nathan Drake climbing around, because at the time, everybody had to keyframe it, and that just genuinely wouldn't have been in any way feasible for them.
So what,
And
they figured out a way to make him react to the environment?
that was one of their big things for them, and one of the few times we'll actually give the earlier Uncharted games credit is that, like, at the time, dynamic animations were a really unheard of thing. Like, at the time, I think the only other game trying to do that in any way succeeded was The Force Unleashed. A lot of other
Force
ones
Unleashed and of course that failed Indiana Jones game
that
never ended up happening.
Oh, it actually did. But
Well, no, in a very different form.
Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, it's for Wii, DS, and PSP. None of the platforms we announced it for.
And we cut out all of the high-end tech that made it so impressive. Yeah, it was pretty sad. Don't you dare. Apparently I can't hit him at this range. Okay, that's a little sad. Well, all of my friends got killed. Well, no, all of my friends survived, but all of the other people working at the Resistance Shelter got killed. So that sucks. All right, so we're going to wrap up the video on Terminator here. I hope you've been enjoying Terminator. As I said, not only do I think it's one of the best games of the year, it's one of the... I'm comfortable saying... Oh, hey, let's watch this. How is that skeleton staying together? There are no tendons left.
He came from the future to save my life.
He's you. He's you. Like, he came from the future to save your life. Because he's you.
Escape with the Central Core's true location.
There's so many bone-related puns that I'm just going
Oh my god.
refrain from making right now.
Yeah.
I assure everyone, I am not that mean.
To take part in the large all-out attack.
You're a terrible person, but I'm in favor of it. Okay. Let's see. God, this is such a good game. Anyway, like I said, I hope you've been enjoying Terminator. I know I have been. We'll be back here in the next video to wrap up the game, because this has got to be the final mission. So, for now, I've been the Hidden Object Guru. Thanks for coming on this journey with me. If you have a good time and you'd like to see more, there's buttons for that coming up. Unabridged, what should people be checking out?
You can find me at The Escapist as Second Look. It's my regular column where I talk about all sorts of weird games like the ones we're discussing tonight. And also on Unabridged Gamer, where I do that too, and...
Other stuff as well?
Yes, I just talk about all sorts of really, really odd games. And currently we are doing Clash of the Tie-Ins, which is precisely why this was just the perfect discussion point. And why I'm just so happy to see tie-ins like Terminator existing in, because, like, yeah, it's essentially a Wolfenstein game with a lower art budget. That's all it is. And, like, that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
Narcos apparently did well too. It's just I'm really happy, and that is also a thing I will say is I try to keep my content constructive because we have enough people being angry on the internet.
It's an issue. So we'll see you back here in the next item playlist for the grand finale of Terminator. But until then, we're going to say au revoir. Nor Gamer has another question.
Yes.
Don't know what it is. He yelled, wait. I don't know in what context. Wait, please. He wants us to wait for something. I wonder what that might be. Alright, now we're going to load up a hat in time for the last bit of the stream.
Okay.
So if I were to be able to get them to send a Terminator that way, like, is there any chance you could tell them you're going to be making it your big year-ending entry on Year of Tie-ins?
I could feasibly do that, yes.
Okay. I wanted to know what to tell them to try and encourage them to send you the copy they were going to send me.
The last few tie-ins I have recorded, Terminator would be the last one I think that will be going in the can then, because there's one more that I still need to play, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm as terrified of it as I am curious, and that is I actually managed to find a near mint copy of Shrek 2 for Xbox.
Oh.
One of the best. Here's the thing, it's one of the best selling Xbox games ever. Like,
that is so weird.
Yeah, Shrek on the Xbox did amazingly well, to the point that when they did Shrek 2, it was like, oh yeah, also Red Riding Hood is an exclusive character just for this game. Like, it was getting like 5 out of 10 almost anywhere, and it still is considered a platinum hit on the Xbox.
Yeah. Wow.
I have no words, I have no explanation. All I know is, well, I already tried The Incredibles, we're going to try this. And by the way, for the record, if you were ever curious about The Incredibles, it's neat, but it's also weirdly sadistic. Play it in an emulator with a save state.
Yeah, no, I played it and beat it in its original form, and I did not have a good time.
I am so sorry, because yeah, it's like there's so much there that could have worked if they were just a little less mean.
Aww. Honestly, like, I have had no time, and I mean, it's been 4 years now, 5 years, whatever. I think 4 years, since I played Rare Rewind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ever since I played that, I have had no patience for platformers that don't have, like, save states or a rewind function.
Well, I know, right? Because, like, there's so many of them where it's just, oh, well, you have another 5 minutes.
Just that I should... the thing I was going to say about Spider-Man 2 Horror King was that everyone tells me it's the best. I never beat it back in the day. I loved it, and I still love it, but I never beat it. And it kind of makes me want to go back and check it out, seeing, you know, everyone talking about how wonderful it was. Sorry to interrupt, Unabridged. You were saying...
I completely lost my train of thought because
I'm sorry. We were talking about how I was talking about how it's. I feel like it's insulting to your players to not have a rewind or save state, especially in platformers. And the thing is, if you tell me you're making a sadistic platformer like a Meat Boy or a Meat Boy is the only people who can get away with this. I understand that, but what I would say to them is, let me because I know you're making this for the speedrunners, right? Like, I know that's who this game is for. But here's, like, another option. Make the game for the speedrunners, and then have this extra feature that does not appear on the leaderboards. If you use Rewind, you don't get to be on the leaderboards. And that will keep the speedrunners happy, right? And it'll make your game immediately accessible to everyone else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yes,
that's absolutely all you have to do. Because did you play that because I played Rare Rewind and I played the Mega Man game that had save states, right? And that was huge. Did you play the Mega Man collection?
Mega Man is something that I just have never clicked with, but I have played around with Rare Replay.
Oh no, I said I didn't know that was a feature in the game Horror King.
But
yes, but you've never really gotten into Mega Man. Okay, well, I can say just for me, I loved Mega Man as a kid, and then I went back and I'm like, I only got good at this game because it was the only game I owned. Like, now, as an adult with access to other video games, I can see that this is some trash design. And my fond memories were because I hadn't played anything good. But it is charming as beans. Like, it's just a fun world, and they're fun characters. And I really love Mega Man, but the first 2 games are just the most fiddling and frustrating level design you've ever seen, right? But you add in the ability to rewind or do save states, and suddenly it's just a fun romp.
Oh yeah, and I think that is honestly something that I've been experiencing too. It's probably the biggest issue for me whenever I'm actually reviewing a game now is if it's just making me waste time, that is going to make me more annoyed than I think anything else in the entire game. Like, seriously, everything else I can pretty much tolerate. I've had some of the worst storytelling ever thrown at me, but it just annoys the hell out of me when a game is punishing you for no reason. Like, that was actually part of the reason that I was so annoyed with Jedi Fallen Order, with making you lose health for failing at its terribly executed platforming section.
That is the worst.
Because, like, I should not be losing health or having to move down a difficulty setting just because you couldn't balance this properly.
Although I will say this, at least it does have an easy difficulty setting. I never thought really about whether or not games should have easy difficulty settings until I saw the debate over Sekiro, and I saw that all of the people who were against easy difficulty settings had no arguments on their side. Like, they had, and it's like, because I had never tried to justify why it was important to not have easy settings. I knew some people were against them, but I had never given it much thought, because it's like, sometimes I play games on easy, sometimes I play games on hard. I never really thought about it. So then I saw these people arrayed to rally against easy mode settings, and I'm like, okay, well, what's your argument? What's your point? Why shouldn't we have easy settings? And they had nothing. All they had were strange platitudes about authorial intent. I'm like, yeah, but it's a video game. It's not just something to be looked at, it's something to be played.
Players have say in everything.
Players have, and by the way, did I mention this? Did I mention this to you the other day? Where the opening line of my review of Sniper Ghost Warrior is that anecdote about Arkham Asylum. I'm sure I told you this. Where, like, when they were making Arkham Asylum, they spent, like, months trying to figure out how to discourage people from using detective mode, because so many of their playtesters were just using detective mode all of the time. And then finally someone said, or we could just save ourselves a ton of work and let people play the game however they want. And I'm like, you guys are frigging heroes. You know,
it's a simple thing.
Yeah, just let people play the game however they want. If, like, choose the way you want them to play the game, have achievements for that. But beyond that, just let people do whatever they want. You know, Sue, please continue.
Think about it, it's like, even some of the more hand-holding games I played, when they do allow some player expression, it's what I've gone for. Like, I've told you about Assassin's Creed Syndicate and all the ways I have broken that game over backwards.
Of course.
But regardless, I've still had a ton of fun with it, especially because there were so many times where it would just let me do whatever I wanted. And, you know, I caused Karl Marx's entire speech to be nothing but a mass panic. A bunch of people got knocked out by electricity grenades. You know, all the assassins are just standing there trying to keep it cool. It's one of the most amazing things ever. And, like, it just lets that happen. It rolls with it. That's beautiful.
Yeah, but when I saw these people arguing and saying, well, I don't think everyone should be able to beat every game. And it's like, maybe the intent of the developer is the game should be too hard and you should get pissed off trying to play it and give up. And I'm like, that would be a perfectly valid way to make a video game if you weren't asking me to give you $100.
Yeah.
But you're asking me to give you $100. And if you're asking me to give you $100, well then no, I'm not gonna accept that your game has to be too difficult to beat. And by the way, that was some of their things. They're like, no, beating Sekiro should be achievement, and not everyone should be able to have the experience of beating it. And I'm like, well, if it's free, that's kind of fine. Even then, I think you're kind of a dick for making your game that way. But if the game's free, fine, whatever. But if you're charging me $100 to play your game, then it better beat the game for me if I ask it to. I may have a more extreme opinion on this than most, but there is some crap I just won't put up with from video games, and this is right at the top of that list.
Oh, the irony is people complain about, you know, AAA aiming for the most people possible to be pleased with a game. This is the sort of thing that I think is actually far more critical for making your game be accessible to everyone, because
100%, yes.
People love weird shit. That has always been the thing about humans. We just love weird things. We get obsessed with absurd GIFs on the internet. It's not that hard to please us. But, and this is the critical but, we have to be able to appreciate and understand what's going on.
That's true. Horror King is saying you can't beat Arkham City by using detective mode constantly. I was just talking about Arkham Asylum. While there may be places where you have to turn off the detective vision, I think you can play 99% of that game with the detective vision turned on and have no trouble at all. But if there are parts I'm forgetting, please let me know.
Arkham Knight, I would think, you've still got some there. Like, there's the guy who can detect you when you're using detective vision, but you can
that
take
was
him
a
out
nice
like a
touch.
snap.
But yeah, that guy. But just make it so he's the guy you kill first in your fights. You know, there's like one or two guys who can see you're using detective vision, beat him up first, then get back to the using detective vision. You know. He asked, "We've got a question for you. Have you heard about the FTC's war on your the FCC's?" FCC or FTC? Anyway, their war on YouTubers. This whole, they don't want kids seeing any questionable content, so they're going to fine various YouTubers out of existence.
Oh, the COPA thing. Yeah. I've heard about it. At this point, I'm so small a channel that for me, I just kind of, I'm like, I open my windows, I see thing's on fire, I close my windows, I go back to making videos that a few people watch.
There you go. I think that's a healthy attitude to take.
It's because, like, if I had hundreds of thousands of subscribers, if I was doing this as my day job, then
you
I would
be very concerned, yes.
But otherwise, it's like, yeah, things are already crazy enough as is, just in general, so...
You got one more, you don't need one more thing to worry about.
Yeah, it's just, you know, YouTube is gonna YouTube. That really is the big thing there as well, is everybody always acts like as if YouTube's going to implode itself, and like, at some point Google might find a way, but I think it's actually going to be some way that we're not going to see coming if they ever do push it that far. This is far too obvious and far too many people are responding to it.
Yeah.
So, it'll handle itself in due time. It's not the end of the YouTubes, it's not the end of the world, it's an inconvenience.
Okay, I think that's a very healthy way to look at it. Way to go. And, you know, some people are really freaking out about this. And I understand that, like, if your day job is running a YouTube channel that is just, like, you cooking things in an easy bake oven, I understand how you would be afraid right now, right? I get that. But as someone who, you know, just exclusively makes videos about games that children 100% aren't allowed to play, I'm not that concerned.
Not only that, but I think we do need to address the problem, because, like, the children's section of YouTube is extremely screwed up. Like, we need to just get that right there right now. There are people who are exploiting algorithms worse there than even in most mainstream things, so, like...
Like, the thing is, I had never heard about this until, like, a month ago, and they're like, did you know that there's an entire subculture of YouTube channels that is literally just things that autoplay featuring, like, various licensed characters poorly animated with nonsense music playing, just so that toddlers will listen to them endlessly and see ads, and it will just essentially farm YouTube ad revenue? And I'm like, no, I was not aware of that. That sounds terrible.
Not only that, but, like, disturbing content sometimes comes out of it, and, like, it's not even anime, it's like live action, it's just really weird shit of people. It is an extremely sad thing. Let's just say it's an extremely sad thing that we've come to this point, and, like, yeah, it just it needs to not be a thing. It needs to not be a thing.
Oh, you're not allowed to kill the owls. I didn't realize you weren't allowed to kill the owls. That's bad. I'm in a stealth section. I thought maybe I'll do this. I'll do exactly what Solid Snake would do in the situation and just murder some fools. But you're not allowed to do that. And it made me sad, because murdering fools is how I roll when it comes to stealth sections. People are like, oh no, you gotta play non-violently. And I'm like, back in the day, when I was trying to not go to university classes, I beat Metal Gear Solid Subsistence, or Substance? Which one was it? Anyway, Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance for the Xbox, original Xbox. And I literally beat every single thing, every mode, every difficulty, unlocked every single thing, all the gun challenges, all of the stealth challenges, got everybody's dog tags. I did everything. So no, I'm never again in my life going to go all in on a stealth game and do everything in a stealth game. I'm just not going to. I've done it once. I had the most stealth experience you can possibly have. I feel no need to ever try anything like that again.
I hear you.
I'm just gonna, if I have a gun, if you want to give me a trank gun, I will trank people instead of blowing their brains out. But if you don't give me a trank gun, I'm going to be murdering everyone. The end. Anyway, sorry for that digression.
I completely understand, because that's actually kind of been my experience with some games. Like, I have a near full platinum on a Fuse and Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus. Both of those, I have a full thing there, and I could go all the way. I could 100% them, but I realize at this point it's like I don't need to. Like I really just at a certain point it's like it's just a number on the internet that will be there maybe after you're dead. That's not something that you desperately need to have.
Nope. There is no reason for me to play stealth games carefully. I was playing, so someone has made a VR game, and this is 100% true. It is just they have attempted to recreate the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 2 in VR. And they're not being subtle about it at all, to the point where it's like all of the gameplay elements, holding up, crouching, climbing over things, hanging off of things, like it's just Metal Gear Solid 2, right down to the fact that all of the soldiers you're chasing are dressed exactly like the soldiers from Metal Gear Solid 2, to the point where it's like, you wonder, I was just going to say, to the point where you wonder, like, did they license these models from, like, a Metal Gear Solid 2 fan project? That's how close it is. But anyway, you were saying. You were going to ask.
It's a very critical question here. Is bird poop somehow mechanically involved?
No, sadly. I mean, it might be later, but right now I'm in an underground lab.
Okay, because I'm thinking, if this is full Metal Gear Solid 2, bird poop was a
there
weird...
should have been a ton of bird poop in that, yeah. You're absolutely right.
Why Kojima was so obsessed with it, but he really, really wanted bird poop.
I know, he was obsessed with that. It was very strange. And to punish you for killing the birds.
Mm-hmm.
That was another weird thing. It's like, no, you're not allowed to shoot birds. We are going to treat you like you're a monster for shooting birds. Here's a game over for shooting too many birds. And I'm like, wow. Damn. You're going all out, aren't you? Okay. I mean, I respect that you're this committed, even if I don't understand why. Apparently, I'm playing this thing in a hat in time, and apparently there were 8 pieces of a picture I was supposed to find, and I found like 6. And now I'm kind of annoyed. Found 7. Actually, it's almost worse that I found 7, because that means I only missed 1. Like, if I had found 4, I'd be like, oh, well, que sera, sera. But to know that you only missed 1, that's the kind of thing that sticks with you. Yeah. Oh, yes, apparently the FTC is planning to give people, fine people $42,000, which seems high to me.
Not only is that high, the thing you need to understand, Horror King, is that as much as they will threaten that, the main reason it's that high and everything is to just scare people into doing what they want.
And this is the thing that I point out, which is, the problem is, I don't think that's going to hold up on appeal, and I'll tell you why. Because the issue is that the problem is data collection, is collecting data and tracking the things of minors, and fundamentally, YouTube creators aren't doing that. YouTube creators aren't tracking minors and collecting their data. Google is. And so if it got into a courtroom and Google tried to say this is all the fault of creators, creators would say, I didn't create software to track who's watching my videos. I didn't invent that. I didn't tell who to do it. YouTube did all of that. Google did all of that. And I don't think there's a judge who's going to side with Google over a billion video creators who, again, were not the ones who started tracking children. I mean, that's my take on it. I don't know if that's how it's going to shake out, but because the problem here is the tracking, and that's not something creators are doing. Oh, wow, cool. It's the things I was tracking. Oh, the pictures I were finding was the story of DJ Grooves and the conductor's lives, and how they both dreamed of becoming movie guys, and then they fought, and then, oh god, I missed, because I only have 7 of 8, I don't find out how their story ends. Oh, that's so sad. It's still awesome, though. It's still unbelievably awesome. I will turn on a new remix. Thank you for saying, offering me that. So yeah, I'm not that scared about it. But, and I mean, to just dial back for 1 second, my question becomes, right, like, what is the purpose of not, what are you gaining as a game developer or publisher by not having an easy mode in your game? I mean, that might sound crazy to ask, but it's honestly what I would like to know. Like, what do you think you're getting? Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. And
what do you think you've added to the experience by not having the easy mode in your game? Because I was talking to a guy, right? Because I was playing this game. I don't know if you saw it on my channel. It was, you play as an AT-AT? No, an ATST. So you play as an ATST, and it's the movie Avatar, right? So you know the plot of Avatar?
Well, I think anybody who's seen Dances with Wolves or
there you
Disney,
go, Fern Gully, or yeah,
Pocahontas, it's like I think we all know this plot. We know this plot from many sources.
That's true. You're right. Okay, it was honestly dumb of me to ask. Of course, you know the plot of Avatar. So it's the plot of Avatar, but you're playing as an ATST, right? That's the whole game. Mm-hmm. So I get the game has 6 chapters, and I get 2 chapters in, and every single fight is like such a god-awful slog that I'm like, are you sure this is set to easy? And I checked, and yeah, it was set to easy. It's just an overwhelming slog. And so I'm talking, there's a couple of bugs in the game, so I'm talking to the developer anyway, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I have no idea how hard my game is, right? Because I made the game and I play it all the time, so obviously I'm perfect at it, so I can't judge. And I'm like, first off, that's why playtesting, beyond QA, it's important to playtest games to see how, you
have to have other people. That's why sometimes I've even, like with Renegade Sector, sometimes I've given feedback on games. It's like, Alec, you're making a section that makes me want to stab you. Tone it down.
Yeah, and so what I said to him was, like, literally, I don't know who your audience is or what you want to accomplish here, but the fact is, if a mode says easy, like easy, and if you want to call it casual instead of easy, that's fine. But I'm just using the term easy here for simplicity. If a mode says easy, this is going to sound ridiculous, but anyone on Earth should be able to beat the game if you called it easy. Mm-hmm. Anyone. Like, it should not be possible to lose the game. Like, if you die, you should only lose 2 minutes of gameplay at most. Like, 2 minutes is the most amount of gameplay you should ever lose if you die in one of these things. And I'm like, and so I used, as an example to him, I say, look at the Mario games, right? Starting with Mario, I don't remember, 3D Worlds or whatever. Starting with 3D Worlds or whatever, they said to themselves, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make it so it is impossible to lose this game, right? So no matter how bad you do at Mario 3D Worlds, if you die, and I don't know what the number of deaths is, like 3-4 times on a level, they're like, oh, do you want to keep playing, just keep trying to beat this level? Great. Or, no judgment, here's a feather, and if you pick up the feather, you can't be damaged, and you have the ability to fly infinitely. You know? So no judgment. Do you want to just skip this level and have the experience of zipping through this level like a badass? And the answer is, oh, I do? Okay, well then that's your option. No judgment, you just do it. And what I said to him was that literally, make whatever game you want, but if you want people to just be able to have a good time with it, just turn down the damage to 0. Like, if it's called easy, whatever you think is a good damage, set it to 10% of that and just let people play the game. You know? Because I remember someone saying, well, it's hard to put an easy mode in. This is when I was talking to people about Sekiro, because you have to rebalance the whole game. And I'm like, no, the whole point of easy mode is you don't have to rebalance the game. Turn enemy damage to 10%. Turn player damage to 1,000%. There, I've rebalanced the game.
Conversation when and I still am willing to finish it. Is when I was fiddling around with modding Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. It's like, oh my gosh, they genuinely made their own game suck by insistence of making even the lowest difficulty just be a bullet sponge fest.
Yeah, like what are you doing? I remember like I gave this nasty to review, right? To I think it was, what's that game called? Comic Jumper. Did you ever play Comic Jumper?
Don't believe so.
It's complete trash. But the point is, it's like, so it's a Contra alike, right? Where you're jumping around, you're shooting lots of guys. And in this Contra alike, to kill any enemy, you have to shoot them like 20 times. So imagine what Contra would be like if you had to shoot every enemy 20 times.
No, thank you.
You'd hate that after 3 minutes. Like,
yeah, I'm already good now. It's like, yep,
like,
yep.
Just doesn't the idea of that cause you pain?
Yes.
And that is what they had done with their game. They'd be like, no, like every enemy should be a challenge. And I'm like, you don't know what kind of game you're making, do you? Like, you have no idea what kind of game you're making. Like, look at Earthworm Jim, maybe the best, like, Contra-like of the SNES generation. Literally, you just run around, you fire the gun, and dudes explode. And that's the whole game. You know? Like, and it's great. There's fun platforming. There's a variety of enemies, lots to do. But it's never a slog. You know?
That's the issue in general we're seeing right now with design, where there's a problem of not understanding how to keep things fun, if that makes sense.
No, keep the flow going.
Yeah, because I hate to be bashing it again, but it's like, that was another one of the things that was really bugging me about Fallen Order was like, yes, technically these are unique encounters, but they don't feel unique. I feel like I'm filling out a timestamp. Like, I am obligated to do as much as humanly possible here to grind and everything, but I did not want to grind. Whereas with Dark Souls, oh no, every encounter is incredibly distinctive. You remember every
individual enemy in the entire game and where they all were.
You have names for them.
Oh,
they are not just generic Stormtrooper 50, who I now need to kill because he magically respawned in a thing that we're just not ever going to explain.
Oh my god, that's the worst. But yeah, like that's a perfect example, right? What you've just said. Where it doesn't make sense. Oh my god, I'm terrible at this game. I think we're calling it a night, everybody. But yeah, like, that every single thing should feel like a unique, fun, special encounter if you want to make a Souls-like. Right? And if you're not doing that, well, then at least make it fast. Like, the thing about Dark Souls is, like you say, every single encounter with every enemy in the game is set up so the mix of enemies and the area they're fighting you in is a completely unique experience that you will remember. And so when you come back to it again and again, you're like, okay, first I fight the 3 angry trees in this place. Then I get attacked by an armor lord, or the stone guardian, right? Okay, then the guys with the scythes are going to show up. And it's always, even though you're fighting a bunch of the same enemies, it's always incredibly varied, right? And,
yeah.
And I was going to say, and there's also like 80 types of enemies in that game.
Oh yes, there's so many different types of enemies, and not only is there speed, but just the size of enemy encounters is actually fairly small. Like, everyone goes about Ornstein and Smog, but like they're unique in that there's two enemies as bosses, whereas fighting just two guys who are really powerful is something that Dark Souls throws at you constantly. That's a
Yep.
regular thing. And that's great. It makes it memorable. So, like, how about instead of 50 stormtroopers who I can take out before I've even gotten close to them with by just deflecting with my lightsaber, I just fight a purge trooper or two every now and then. Like,
Yeah, that'd be
that
fun.
would make perfect sense.
Yeah, well, especially if they know that there are Jedi running around.
It would make so much more sense because, like, you don't throw conscripts at a Jedi Knight.
What do you think they're going to get done? Especially when you can just push all of them off. They can all get immediately pushed off of cliffs.
Yeah, or force script, and thus ignoring their whole parrying system, because who cares about a parrying system if you can literally just hug them to death?
And that's pretty awesome, actually.
It's awesome to do. It's also like, I also feel bad because it feels like I'm cheating. And
No,
that is,
absolutely.
I want to say that's another thing, and to use another example, easy mode, both or casual or whatever, should not only be extremely completable,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't feel like you're cheating, because I'm noticing that is another major issue of games right now, is that whenever they give you something powerful, it honestly, at least to me, it feels like they are giving you a cheat code. Like, there's this ability late in the game for Jedi Fallen Order, I won't tell you what it is, but it is essentially a one-shot kill. And you can use it so regularly that it's like, this is clearly intentional, but it runs counter to everything else I've been going with, and I don't understand. It's not even like it has multiple animations or anything. It literally is just one animation type. It feels as though
you point your finger at someone and they die. That's not what it is, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and it's like Dead Space 2 is never like that on its easiest difficulty setting. Like, Dead Space can easily curb stomp you on the higher difficulties, but on casual, you feel like you're in for a fight. You still feel like you're trying. It just isn't mean about it. And it's
a perfect balance. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't honestly, personally, I like sometimes just feeling like a ridiculous badass. The first time I noticed that easy was a great way to play was in a little something called the Bourne Identity video game, where it's like you spend the whole game with these brutal fist fights, right? Where you're just going in and out. And you're like, yeah, it's not really like the movie at all, because he just, trashes people in the movie. That's the whole point of how good he is, and there's only boss fights that gives him a problem. So you turn it to easy, and suddenly he becomes, a one-man kill dispenser. And if anyone knows what that's a reference to, be the first commenter below the video to mention it, and you win a prize. None of you will get it. I am predicting no one will get the one-man kill dispenser reference. So. But yeah, it's like, but sometimes it can feel good. But I see what you mean about, like, it can be hard, right, to... the amount of bird puns in their titles is staggering. Okay, that's funny. Right, it can be... I agree that it can be hard to do a completely satisfying balance of an easy mode. Like, I recognize what you're saying, because you know when it's done, you've seen it when it's done badly, and with something like Dead Space 2, you absolutely have seen it when it's done spectacularly well. But that being said, I would argue that even when it's... I would rather play a game with a badly done easy mode than one whose basic difficulty is so hard that 5% of the people who start the game are ever going to finish it.
And then I completely get that. It's...
Like, if I had to pick, I'll take too easy over too hard. Any day of the week. And 30 times on Sundays.
I completely understand that. And it's not even about, like, perfectly doing it. I want to be clear here. It's not about that. It's like... I think that to really nail a good easy mode, because, like, the way you're describing it, actually, with Jason Bourne, that's, believe it or not, a really good example of what I'm trying to get at here. Is like, it feels right. It feels like you are Jason Bourne. And that is very much what I feel like with Dead Space when it's on the casual difficulty setting, is you are this one man who's actually capable of handling this. You have a variety of weapons that are fairly competent. And really, the biggest stretch of disbelief that they all implement is that suddenly there's a lot more random munitions for technical equipment sitting around in civilian areas. That's like the one major change. Otherwise, it mostly lines up, and I'm actually perfectly okay with that. And I do also prefer I would rather easy mode just be plain easy because, well, if a game's gotten me to the point where I'm playing on that difficulty setting, clearly I want it to be over with anyway.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and I think that's the key part is it's like you're just not. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm being hyperbolic, but I think you know where I'm coming from. It can feel like they're not respecting your time.
in fact, that was one of my issues with the first Evil Within was that it just didn't see it because horror games in general, it's a very much about consent because it is entirely about you are putting yourself into this incredibly potentially very unpleasant situation, and there's the big question of are you actually enjoying it or not, because there are people who think, why would you play or watch or read something horror that's terrifying? And it's like, yeah, that's the fun when it's done right.
But I'm choosing to do it. If I don't want it to be a slog, well, meet me halfway, game.
Exactly.
And that's what it comes down to. It's like, just be willing to meet me halfway. Is that so crazy? Am I the madman here for asking them to meet me halfway? I think not. All right. Thanks for listening to us ramble about this. I'm going to wrap up this stream here. We all had a great time. Terminator remains the game of the year. The best game of... I honestly... I know this is going to sound like, again, stupid hyperbole, but I feel sorry for them for it having come out the same year as both Death Stranding and Resident Evil 2. Because, you know, it's not going to be in any Game of the Year conversations. And it's just amazing. Like, it's a fantastic game, and I'm sad it's not going to be in any of those conversations. Because I know it doesn't have the bells and whistles necessary to get that kind of attention, because it's not a giant budget, perfectly tuned experience, and it's also not a super intense, like, very classy indie game that will get critical attention. It's just a first-person shooter that A, does an amazing job of being a first-person shooter, but B, is literally the best use I've ever seen of one of the most popular gaming and movie licenses in history. So it's like, you take that and you're like, this game deserves so much respect that it's not going to get. So that's my big takeaway for Terminator. I love it, and I'm going to be spending the rest of the year talking about how everyone should play it. So hope you're ready for that, people.
Brace yourselves.
It's going to get repetitive. All right. So thanks again. We'll see you back here for more soon. But until then, I'm going to say...